You're listening to the 4-Phase Cycle podcast with your hosts, Dr. Alex and Megan of ZESTY Ginger. If you're looking to naturally balance hormones and learn how to work with your body instead of against it, you've definitely come to the right place. As a duo of an integrative MD and a functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner and best friends, we use the 4 phases of the female cycle in combination with functional lab work and mindset practices to transform the lives of the women we work with.
We also have a whole lot of fun along the way. If you're new around here, it's best to start with season 1 before jumping around and plan to roll up your sleeves. Showing up for ourselves and enjoying our lives is what good health is all about. Just a quick reminder though, this information is not intended to diagnose, manage, or treat disease. Always consult with your doctor before making changes. Well, hello there, and welcome back to the 4-Phase Cycle podcast. This is Megan today. I am excited to be with you here solo to talk about a really awesome quote. A quote that saved me from thousands of dollars and possibly experiencing severe depression. I also want to tell you a magical story about me purchasing a lake house and how this quote all tied into it. But first, let me walk you through what happens and what I've seen happen, what we've seen happen when you get something new in your life.
Right? And how does that feel in real time? This could be your health, this could be in your life, but for me, it was a lake house. So what happens? What is this expansion? What is the contraction? What are the beliefs coming up when you shift to get something new? When this happens, even if you think it's a small habit, you're going from one identity to another. So maybe you've been a person with headaches for many years, and that is your identity. And you don't even realize that you've taken it on as an identity. But you work your days around it, your outings around it. And for me, I know I used to work my whole month around it. And maybe you get more help from your family when it happens. And there's this whole dance that you don't even realize is present around this symptom or this thing in your life.
Now, let's say then you had these headaches and you came over and you joined our Health Transformation Accelerator, which the doors are open to, by the way, and we only open twice a year, so come on in and join us. You can go ahead and click the link in the show notes or zestyginger.com/transform because we only open twice a year and we would love, love, love to have you. And you'll hear today's episode is all about one of the 7 steps in that program. So anyway, you come on over and you now no longer have headaches, and this has happened multiple times in our 7-step process. And you go through you went through the first 6 steps and the headaches are gone. So often this is where people stop. But what about step 7, Megan? You're like, what is that? So in our framework, we call this the up level. And from an actual brain biological standpoint, this is the pushback from your brain, which has been wired to do things efficiently, effectively, and the way you've always done them, right? And now you're doing something new. You've adopted a new identity. You're changing how you experience your physical symptoms, like something is new. And then often at this point, someone will have a relapse, right? All of a sudden the headaches are back. They didn't fully understand the up-level stage and they didn't fully push through the up-level stage into the new identity. And this is where they'll say, oh, shoot, it didn't work after all, right? This is the 1 step forward and then all of a sudden it looks like 2 steps back. And this is the up-leveling piece, which when you notice it and you know it's there, you can experience it very differently because we say, oh, look, our brain is really pushing back on this because we're actually totally ready to step into this new identity. And the harder it pushed back, the bigger the up-level you're about to have, the bigger the identity shift you're about to have. And as one of our mentors had said to us in business, but it applies everywhere, she's like, all right, ladies, get on your big girl panties. So can you put on your big girl panties and step into this new identity of where you're going? Or at this point, is this when you stop and start over and move to something new? And that brings me back to that quote I mentioned at the beginning. That quote from our mentor, and he said, if you can't handle your current problems, don't expect to manifest bigger and better things in your life. Oh, how good is that? And I was listening to it in the context of business, although it goes across everywhere. And sometimes, sometimes when you hit a goal, if you ever had this happen, you hit a goal and it doesn't really magically look or feel like you thought it would. So this has happened for me. So this has also happened for a lot of the women we work with. Maybe they thought they thought weight loss was where they were going for, so they released a certain number, and then they realized they actually didn't feel any different or happy, right? What they thought the goal was and how it looked didn't quite match up. And this is what happened for me when I manifested, and I will tell you manifested. I'll tell you the story, but the most perfect lake house. So I visualized for a year, over a year probably, this property that I wanted at a very specific lake in New Hampshire where I grew up. And I had pictured it. It was kind of up on the left on this hill looking out over the property where my dad and his girlfriend are, and this amazing view. And I just kept seeing it, and I kept seeing it and kept seeing it. And at the same time, I knew from an actual real estate perspective that this property it wasn't a specific house or anything. There wasn't anything for sale I knew of. It was just like I was just seeing this vision and this view and me being there. And everyone said, oh, these properties don't go for sale here. These stay in the family. They're boutique properties, right? This is a small lake it's an amazing lake, just crystal clear water. I love this place. And when we were there last summer, a property just one up. Only difference is it was on the right instead of the left, but it was the exact view I had been seeing. And it magically appeared on the market the summer that we were there, during a time when nobody else was looking, and it was super magical. And we ended up purchasing and now own the lake house. So I purchased it from afar because we live in Virginia Beach, and we still weren't there anymore when we had purchased it. So I hadn't actually gone to see it yet and was all excited and was going to see it. And I was listening to a podcast on the plane on the way there. And that's when I heard this quote. The quote was from James Wedmore. And he said, if you can't handle your current problems, don't expect to manifest bigger and better things in your life. I'm like, cool. And I'm just kind of mulling over this quote and thinking about it. And then we get to the lake house. Well, did you know that water heaters last about 20 years? No? Yeah, I didn't either. But they do. And that's about how old our place was. So it was super magical going to walk in and see the place for the first time since we purchased it, see it and be able to stay in it. And within 10 minutes, I swear to God, within 10 minutes of walking in to my first ever lake house, we turned on the water to wash our hands, and pop, 60 gallons of water started to rush out of the bottom of the water heater into the bathroom. So this place was built in 2000, and here we are 20 years later, and the water heater made it until the first 10 minutes of my ownership. Pop. Everything goes. It was emptying out all of the old. Just flowing right out, emptying out all of the old. And do you think that is a coincidence? Anyway, luckily I had been listening to that podcast on the way, and that quote had caught my attention. So I quickly, in my head, was able to say, okay, there are no problems, only feedback. If I can't handle this, then how am I going to have my huge retreat center someday, right? All right, Megan, stay calm. Got this. I can handle this. So just a little water, 2 hours and 20 sopping towels later, we had the water heater drain, the mess clean up, the fans pointing at the floor. And now, as many of you know, have been around the podcast for a while or around our Instagram, I have a history of having purchased another home that ended up having so much mold damage that we couldn't move in for 6 months and cost about $100,000, had to take down entire walls. So to say that, water flow really had the potential to send me into a negative spiral is an understatement, right? So the level of calm I was able to keep during this process was just astronomical for me. I kept saying to myself, if I can't handle my current problems, don't expect to manifest bigger and better things in my life. I kept repeating. There are no problems, only feedback. I can handle any situation that comes my way. There are no problems, only feedback. And I watched my brain want to jump to deeper conclusions about how horrible this was going to be, how mold was going to grow, how, see, everything I do ends up this way. I watched my brain want to do this, and I just kept bringing it back. There are no problems, only feedback. I can handle this. I can handle this. I can handle this. And luckily, Dr. Alex was there with me to experience this whole lovely situation. So she's always there to help me turn my thoughts around, which is fabulous. So I went to bed and I just trusted. And I actually went to bed with I actually felt fully calm, like everything will work out. It's all good. Everything will work out. I knew it would be taken care of the next day. I just felt it deeply in my body. I didn't know how, but I just got the sense it would be okay because I'm like, after all, I can handle this. That way I can handle my future huge, retreat center or whatever it is, right? So I woke up. I did take some physical action, right? I didn't just sit there and meditate. I did take action. I called the plumber my dad suggested. Since his plumber had, he'd said his plumber was busy on another project, but I didn't get an answer. And I was only going to be at the property for a couple of days, so I was hoping to have hot water working in the time I was there, and I just didn't worry too much about it. I did the things I knew I could do, and I'm like, all right, everything will work out. Went back to the place, and actually the craziest stuff lined up and worked out, and way better than I could have even planned. So if you had told me I was going to have hot water by lunchtime that day, I was going to be able to take a shower, I wasn't going to have to lift a finger, and it was going to be paid for by someone else, you would have thought I was crazy, but that's exactly what happened. Again, I stayed calm. I trusted. I really fully believed everything will work out. And before 10 a.m., a plumber showed up at the door with a water heater. Apparently, my dad had scheduled a plumber a couple months earlier to work on his apartments, but he hadn't even remembered he had scheduled it because, it was so long ago. And he said, his plumber doesn't usually give him a warning. So he'd showed up that morning and been like, oh, we're here to work on those sinks. And my dad redirected him to our house. My dad owns a hardware store, so he sent him with one of the water heaters he had in stock. And within an hour, the guys had left. He had a water heater. And I just never even got up for my puzzle. Then the previous owner found out what had happened and just felt horrible on our first day in this place and insisted in paying for the replacement. So magically, it was not too bad for our first night in the place. But what if I decided instead when that water burst? What if I decided, that's the sign, I'm not on the right track. This is not the right lake house. I shouldn't have bought this. This is a problem. This is going to be the downturn of my health. What if it was a sign that I took it as a sign of that I need to get out, right? Sometimes when there's a small setback or a big setback, we then letting the water pipes bursting, sometimes we let that ruin the whole experience. This whole experience of me visualizing this perfect place that I want, me purchasing my first ever investment property, my first ever lake house, this beautiful place, this place that is just magical to be in nature. There's nothing around there. There's no Wi-Fi. There's no cell signal. It's just, you can feel how calm it is. And I could have, and I have in the past, let something like that ruin the whole journey. And this may sound silly, but we see this often with health journeys as well. Someone is so close to that new health identity, to breaking through, and they feel the pushback, or they feel like they've taken steps backwards, and they go back to the old them. They go back to the old diets. They go back to the old process of researching. They go back to stopping to trust their body when they had just learned to trust their body. And so understanding that this is actually a feeling that happens as we shift, this feeling of rewiring your brain for a new identity, of rewiring your brain to go to a different place in a health journey, or to have a different thing in your business, or to interact differently in a way you want with your family or your loved ones. Anything that is different is going to come with a little bit of feeling, a little bit of pushback in order to rewire that new process. If you don't feel that pushback at all, then you're probably not too far from where you were before. You're probably not rewiring. You're probably very close to the old identity. And if you liked the old identity, if you liked the way your health was, if you like the way your life is, cool. If you're in the process of transformation like us, if you're wishing to change something about your physical health or some symptomology that you're experiencing, then we want you to know that up level is an important part of the process. And we don't want you to think that this means you need to suffer in order to break through. As a good quote from our friend, we heard, the suffering is a good teacher, but don't make it your mentor. So often with growth, there comes a little conflict and a little struggle. And that's very different than suffering and believing you need to suffer to transform. When you know that this is what's happening, you can label it. I was able to go, oh, look, here it is, a little universal pushback. Megan up-leveled pretty hard. I went from this identity to a person who now owns a lake house. It was a big shift for me. And I was seeing a little universal pushback. And I looked it in the face and I was like, you will not stop me. I can handle this. And it easily went away. And even if it doesn't easily go away, you know you can do it and you know you can move forward. And if you keep coming up against the same thing over and over and over again, then that's when it's time to stop and look back and say, is this up level, or is this now a pattern and a habit and a belief, and I'm keeping myself in a loop? So these are all the things we're going to teach you inside of Health Transformation Accelerator, how to recognize, am I up leveling, or am I actually in a pattern and a loop where I stop myself? And am I pushing through that? And then even if I am pushing through that, do I have this belief that keeps me in this place? So maybe you have a belief you're working against, even though you're attempting to go through the up level, then there's a belief that you can never up level. So we do identify the beliefs. We teach you a process of rewiring for new beliefs. We're teaching you a process of physically upgrading the body, of biochemically upgrading the body, changing your neurochemistry. So we're doing neurotransmitter testing. It's an easy at-home test. You pee on some strips, send it into the lab, and then we're going to get some information back on your serotonin, your dopamine, your norepinephrine, epinephrine, your GABA, histamine, get some readings to understand what signal is your brain sending to your body, and are you in a place where you are going to allow your body to up level? Because if it's in straight fight or flight all the time, then all these other magical things we're doing, all the belief work, all the goal setting, it won't translate. So we're going to support the body physically, emotionally, spiritually, mentally, so that all the things and all the work you're putting in can fully translate. We've introduced some human design as a bonus into our program. We've found in the last 2 classes that people have said this is makes a huge impact on how you make decisions about your health, how you make decisions about something you're going to purchase or what you're going to do. And human design allows you to really fast track where you're going with your health and your goals. We also have a session with Pam. She's the founder of, it was Neurogistics, it's now M2 Institute. Lovely, lovely woman who goes deep into brain chemistry. So everyone will get a session with her or her team to go over personally your results, get a protocol, and also have a Q&A with Pam so you personally ask your questions. We're so excited to have you join us. Please reach out to us. Send an email, support@zestyginger.com if you have any questions. And we cannot wait for you to join us on this transformation journey with all the other women who are going to be jumping in and getting started very, very soon. The last day to join is on Thursday, March 3rd at midnight Eastern Standard Time. So please don't wait. this opportunity will not be around long. We can't wait to work with you. All right, have a great day.
Thanks for coming out to hang with us on the podcast. It is our goal to transform the way women are treated in healthcare, and we need your help. We need your help to get the word out. We have a lofty goal of 1 million downloads, and we know that as this podcast grows, we're going to be able to reach more women, get more amazing speakers for you, and bring the most cutting-edge information.
If you found these podclasses helpful, please take a moment to text 5 women you know the link to the series. We appreciate your help so much. Can't wait to see you next time.